Okay guys, so I'm out here today to finally do the casting comparison video between the Shimano SLX and the gorgeous SLX XT. Now, I have them both paired on the exact same rod, a 6'8" medium heavy, 10-pound mono, and we're going to see if the SVS Infinity on the XT really gives us any kind of advantage or difference in casting versus the standard VBS on the SLX. Okay, so what we're going to do is, since the XT only has 4 brake arms, we're going to activate all 4 brake arms, and on the SLX, since this has 6 brake arms, we're only going to activate 4 to make it even with the XT. So right now, 4 brakes on, 2 off, and we're going to be running both of these reels with the same amount of spool tension, and that's just with the spool control tightened to just minimize the side-to-side play. Okay, so the lure I'm going to throw is this little 1/4 ounce square bill. So it's pretty light, but it flies through the air pretty good as well. So that way we won't be able to just back the brakes off of either of these 2 reels because the lure is too heavy. Okay guys, so first up is going to be the SLX, and hopefully you guys will be able to see where this lure lands on the water. I'm going to try to cast into a dark spot. Okay, so with 4 brakes on, that distance was pretty bad. It probably went out there probably like 50 feet. Okay, we're gonna do one more cast. Yep, landed about the same place. So these brakes, all 4 brakes on the SLX, is very overbraked. I don't see why you would ever need to go to 5 or 6 brakes on. Okay, so we're probably looking at about 50 foot. Okay, so up next is the XT. This is with all 4 brakes on inside, and I have the external dial turned all the way up to maximum. Let's see what happens. Okay, so the distance was about the same as the SLX. Yep, no matter how hard I tried, the distance is roughly the same. Probably around 50 foot. Okay, so far SVS Infinity is not really showing us much. It's going out there the same distance as the regular VBS. But let me show you something. So now, I'm gonna turn the external dial to the minimum setting, and let's see what happens. Pow. So the distance went up over double. Probably went out there like close to 100 foot. And that's just from turning the external dial from maximum to minimum. Over doubled your distance right there. Okay, let's do one more cast. Yep, that's going out there probably 100 foot. Very smooth caster, as to be expected, this XT. Okay, so right there with all 4 brakes on, the XT has the advantage, and I'll show you guys why when we get back home. Okay, so next up what we're going to do is we're going to see how low the SLX can go on the brakes while still casting this 1/4 ounce lure without blowing the spool up. So we're going to go down to 3 brakes on, and I'm going to make them asymmetrical for you OCD knuckleheads. Okay, so 3 on, 3 off. Let's see what this thing can do now. All right, distance didn't really go up at all. Spool control still good. So that's kind of a shocker. I thought we would have gotten at least another 5 to 10 foot by turning off one of the brakes. Let me see, make sure I got 3 on, 3 off. Yep, 3 on, 3 off. Let's try a couple more times. Okay, it's going out there a little bit farther, probably like 5 feet, if that. Okay, so let's go to 2 on, 4 off. Okay, so 2 on, 4 off. Let's see what he can do now. Okay, that was better. Probably was going out there 80 foot. Okay, let's try a couple more times with 2 brakes on. Okay, so with 2 brakes on, 4 brakes off, the SLX didn't look like it was matching the distance of the XT when the XT had 4 brakes on, minimum on the dial. Okay, let's do one more cast. Okay, hopefully you guys can see where that landed. So that's not too bad. The distance wasn't that bad. Okay, so the spool was really controlled. I could tell it was faster, but that makes me think we can go down to 1 brake on this SLX. Okay, so 1 brake on. Okay, let's see what happens. Hopefully it won't blow up. Okay, so that happened right there. Man, I hope I can pick this out. The distance didn't go that much farther versus having 2 brakes on either, which is disappointing. Okay, so as we can see, 1 brake on was a little bit too low for the SLX, and 2 brakes on is the lowest it can go while casting this lure. Okay, so let's see what the XT can do. Okay, so I'm going to turn this brake dial up to maximum as I'm backing down these internal brake shoes. So all 4 on, we're going to go to 3. So 3 brakes on, 1 brake off. Let's see what happens. Okay, that was extremely short. Probably the same distance it was getting with 4 brakes on. Okay, so let's go to 2 brakes on, 2 brakes off. Okay, that was way better. Probably gained about 15 foot. I could feel the spool was significantly faster. Okay, so moment of truth. Let's go down to 1 brake on. See if the XT can handle that. Okay, so 1 brake on, 3 brakes off. Okay, so let's try one more cast with one brake on. Okay, so the spool was pretty controlled that time. I thumbed it a little bit at the end, but it seemed to have, I guess, regained its composure. Let's see if we can do it again. There we go. And the crankbait went out there probably about 40 yards, maybe a little bit less. Okay, we're going to do one more cast, and then we're going to start slowly backing down this external dial. Okay, we're going to take this dial to, let's go from 6 to 5. See if it can take it. Okay, I think we've reached the limit there. You're looking at probably a 40-yard cast, some loops that sorted itself out during the middle of the cast. Okay, so I'm going to give the SLX one more chance to try to go down to one brake. See if it can do it. And no, it can't. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to make a few casts with the SLX with the brakes on 2, because that's as low as we can go. Now, of course, you could mess with the spool tension if you want, but that's not the point. The point is to see if the SVS Infinity would give us any kind of advantage over the standard VBS, with all of the things being equal. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I've turned the SLX to 2 brakes on, which is the lowest it can go. We're going to make a few casts, see where the lure's landing, and then we're going to make a few casts with the XT and see where the lure lands, and we'll see which one casts the farthest. All right, that's going out there probably close to 40 yards. I'm going to try to keep a mental picture to make a comparison. Okay, now it's time to do the XT. Okay, so it looks to me like the XT is definitely casting farther. Spool seems really controlled. I might even be able to go down a little bit on the external dial, but it looks like it's getting about at least 5 to 8 feet over the standard SLX. Let's try again. Okay, so I don't think I'm going to be turning that external dial down. There was a pretty decent fluff up there. Okay, a couple more casts. Yeah, that is definitely going out there farther than the SLX. No doubt about it, visually in my mind, the XT is outcasting the standard SLX when the brakes are turned down to their minimum setting. One more cast. Okay, they went off to the left, but still. Okay, one more cast. Hopefully you guys saw where that landed. It looks like it's going a good 10 foot farther than the SLX. And that's because we're able to go down to one brake on inside. Okay, so let's go home and talk about the results. Okay, so before we get into what happened out there, I just want to say that the SLX MGL is on its way to me right now from Japan, and I should have it in my grubby mitts within a day or two. Alright, just want to get that out of the way. Now, let's talk about what happened out there. And this was a, I guess, pretty important video because we finally get a chance to see if the SVS Infinity braking system is actually better than the standard VBS. And I say that because if you missed it in the video when I unboxed the XT, the spools are exactly the same size, weight, and line capacity. So Shimano's never given us the opportunity to put these two brake systems against each other with evenly matched spools. So what happened out there is that, at least through my eyes, and I'm not sure how well it came across through the video, it looked to me that the XT was clearly outcasting the standard SLX. And that was all due to the brake system. So if you noticed, when I had all four brakes on for both wheels, and I had the dial turned to maximum on the XT, the casting distance was virtually even, very poor. It was going out there probably barely 50 feet. But then when I cranked the external dial down on the XT, the cast distance literally doubled. The lure flew way out there, probably close to 100 foot. So that's just how effective this external dial is for the SVS Infinity. And also, when I turned the brakes down to the lowest each wheel could go without blowing the spool up, it was clear that the XT had the advantage. Once again, because of the brake dial adjustment, I was able to go down to one brake on inside and still keep the spool controllable, while with the standard SLX, one brake on inside was just not doable. The spool was too wild. And I'm going to show you guys exactly why this external brake adjustment is so important. So to show you why the SVS Infinity is better than the standard VBS, it's all about two things. And the first thing is this little thing right here, this brass cone. Now if you take a look at the cone and see its relation to the outer ring of this brake hub, let you guys take a good look. It's almost even with the brake hub. It probably actually is, now that I feel it. Okay, so this is the standard SLX. Now let's take a look at the brake hub on the XT, or the brake cone I should say, and you can see that it is pretty much flush with this outer ring as well. But this is with the brake dial set to maximum. So when I turn this brake dial all the way to minimum, you can see the brass cone retracted down probably like almost 2 millimeters. And that's what allows this reel to cast farther, is just that fine tuning. And what you're fine tuning is best summed up in two words, and that's surface area. So I'm gonna let you guys take a good look at the brake shoes. Hopefully I'm gonna see if my camera will let me zoom in and focus. Okay, so if you take a good look at the shape of the brake arm of Shimano's SVS Infinity, it's shaped like looks like a ping pong paddle almost. Basically, the lower you get on this arm, the wider the plastic flares out. So the closer the ring is towards the brake arm, the more surface area of this brake arm is coming into contact with the brass ring. So that's how SVS Infinity works. So it's pretty apparent to me that the XT with its SVS Infinity brake system has the clear advantage over the standard SLX when it comes to casting. But that's not going to stop me from taking both these reels and the MGL, once it gets here, out to the casting field and do some measurements to see which one is really king. Okay guys, thanks a lot.